What's up, everybody? Welcome to Best Massage Tech, where today I'm taking a look at the Therabody RecoveryAir PRO. The RecoveryAir PRO is Therabody's higher end model of compression recovery boots. The lower end model is their RecoveryAir. Now, I've already done a review video of the RecoveryAir, and for those of you that have been following the channel, you'll know that I've technically done a review of this product previously when it was the RecoveryPump RPX 2020. However, I realize many of you are new and might not realize what that company previously was, but Therabody did acquire RecoveryPump and then relaunch this product as RecoveryAir PRO. So I do have a previous video that I will link down in the description as well as up above here, but we're going to dive into this product a little bit further today now that it's got the Therabody branding. So in this video, I'll talk a little bit about what the RecoveryAir product is. We'll take a look at what comes with it out of the box and then dive into some of the specifications and features of it. And then we'll finish up with trying on the boots and then talking a little bit about the app and the Bluetooth compatibility of it. So the first thing that you see when you open up your RecoveryAir PRO is a small little envelope. It just says RecoveryAir on the front of it. Inside of this, there's a few different pieces of paperwork, and the first is just a brief little note that just explains how this used to be RecoveryPump, it's now RecoveryAir. Just a little bit of background information if you didn't catch it in the beginning. So this product was actually developed by a company called RecoveryPump. Therabody acquired that company early last year. They've now rebranded this product as RecoveryAir. So this note is just kind of explaining that in the instruction manual you might see the terms RecoveryPump, and it's because this previously was the RecoveryPump RPX 2020, now the RecoveryAir PRO. So the instruction manual that comes with it is actually the full RecoveryPump instruction manual, but you do get a small RecoveryAir PRO quick start guide. This is like the holy Bible when it comes to figuring out how to use this, so definitely want to dive into this before you use it for the first time, but I've had a little bit of experience with it, so not going to dive into this, but just know you'll want to read this before you get started. The next thing that you see is the boots themselves. So you have two individual boots. You see you've got RecoveryAir on one side, Therabody on the other side. It's a nice premium feel to them. The hoses are already attached. You do have a zipper that runs down the front side of it, nice thick zipper here. This zipper goes all the way down to the toe of the boot, and then you've got some fabric here that prevents it from being fully unzipped. Now these boots are a 4-chambered boot, so you've got one chamber that goes up in the thigh, one in kind of the knee area, one in the calf, and then one in the foot. And what makes Therabody's RecoveryAir products unique is that they do have overlapping chambers. So a lot of other compression recovery boots out there, you might have two chambers that sit side by side and there's actually a little bit of divide in the seam. These ones actually sit on top of each other, so not only do you get a much smoother fill, but you also don't have the opportunity for backflow of fluids in your legs. The next thing in the box is the pump system itself, and this is the biggest difference that you'll see compared to the RecoveryAir. The system and the pump are much different looking, it's much more robust. You've got a lot more capabilities of it. You've got a nice little handle on this, you've got a power switch on the back, you have an LCD screen that's going to control everything with your recovery routine. And then you have two little ports where your boots are actually going to plug in. And we'll dive into this a little bit further in the video once we start talking about some of the features of it. But just wanted to show this as a pretty big difference compared to what the pump looks like for the RecoveryAir. Now this is a battery powered device, so they recommend that you fully charge it before the first use. So the next thing you'll see in the box is the charging cord. Now they've designed the battery on this to fully shut off from power when it is turned off. So in order to charge it, you do have to flip the power switch on. The power switch is just on the back. Once you flip that on, the screen will light up, and then you can just go ahead and plug it in and charge your device. Now the charger does come with one international adapter. I believe it's for Australia. I'll just go ahead and show it here. Obviously, if you're from Australia, you recognize this. If I'm wrong and this is for somewhere else, let me know in the comments. But in order to change this, there is just a small button on the charger itself. You just press that and it pops off. And then this adapter is labeled top. You just need to line it up and it attaches really easily. And then the very last thing that you'll find in the box at the very bottom in a small little plastic bag is what they call a blocker plug. Now, because the boots are not attached to each other and you individually plug them in, you actually have the opportunity to only use one boot at a time if you'd like. So this blocker plug actually goes into the front of the system where the boot would normally be plugged in. You just go ahead and insert that and it completely blocks off so the air will only flow to the one boot that you have plugged in. And to that point, let's go ahead and show how the boots actually attach themselves. So just as I plug that blocker plug in, you can just take one end of the hose and you want to do it with the writing or the logo side up. and you just line it up and insert it, and it's a super easy process, and it stays in there. So in this scenario, it would only be filling the one boot where the hoses are actually connect, and this would just plug the other holes. So now that I've covered the basics of what comes with the RecoveryAir Pro out of the box, now I'm gonna go ahead and get my boots connected and show how to put them on. Now before you actually do put the boots on, just one little word of advice. Because these are gonna be compressing onto your legs, you wanna make sure you're wearing something comfortable. So you don't wanna have zippers or buttons or just anything that could be really pressing into your leg. So just a quick note there, but when you are ready to put them on, you can put them on two different ways. So you can either kind of take it and put it on like a pair of pants, just one leg at a time and pull it up, or you can fully unzip it and put the other leg in and then zip it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and show both of them. While I do that, I'll talk a little bit about the sizing. So these boots do come in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. I have the medium set. Now, the small set is designed for people that are 5 foot to 5'5". The medium set is for 5'6" to 6 foot, and then the large set would be 6'1" to 6'6". If you're taller than 6'6", probably not gonna fit into these. You're gonna have to probably move them around a little bit. You might still get something, but just something to be aware of with that sizing there. So again, this is the medium set of boots, and this is what they look like once you've got them on. So then once you have your boots on, the next step is gonna be to go ahead and get ready for your recovery routine. So grab your system, turn it on. You'll see the screen light up, and you'll see 2 main things. You're gonna see the pressure and the time, which you'll have the ability to control. The pressure on this is measured in millimeters of mercury, and it's gonna go from 20 millimeters of mercury all the way up to 100 millimeters of mercury in 5 millimeter of mercury increments. And why this range is important in terms of these products specifically is they're designed to move lymphatic fluid, they're designed to move blood. So the number that's really important is your diastolic blood pressure. So if you ever heard like blood pressure being 120/80, it's that second number. And in terms of moving fluid, you actually only need to exceed that number. So if you're curious why it only goes to 100, that's typically why is you're not gonna need to go much higher than that. Now there certainly could be instances where you don't need to go that high, whether there's an acute injury or something in your leg, maybe you've got some extra swelling. That's where some of the lower numbers are gonna come into play there. But just know you have 17 different options to choose from in terms of pressure through this system. We'll dive a little bit into a difference there with the app later on, but just with this system, you can go in 5 millimeter of mercury increments. Now with the time on it, you can go all the way from as short as 10 minutes to as long as 90 minutes. And then there's also an option that they call stay on, which is just gonna be a continuous use. Then you can also select from 4 different pre-programmed modes. So they have a recover mode, a warm-up mode, an isolation mode, and an interval mode. And then there's also an option to build a custom mode, and you can actually save that with the app, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. So whenever you're ready to get started, you can just go ahead and select the routine by selecting the check mark here. It'll cycle through the routines at the top. So that's how you do that there. Then you can go ahead and adjust the time and the pressure. So if you want to adjust the pressure, it's just going to be these up and down arrows. If you want to adjust anything else, the time or a few other items, all you have to do is press and hold the check mark within the routine, and it'll bring up a little menu for that routine specifically. So with this, I can now adjust the pressure, the time, the hold. So the hold is going to be how long it's physically going to hold before it releases the air. And then the release will be how long that release is. And then you can also adjust the gradient. So with the gradient, something important to mention about these boots is that they have what's called a true negative gradient compression. What that means is that the most distal chamber is always going to have a higher pressure than the next proximal chamber to it. So the foot is always going to be higher than the calf, which will be higher than the knee, which will be higher than the thigh. And it's designed that way to prevent any sort of backflow. Again, these are designed to move fluid. They're designed to help with inflammation. So with the chamber most distally always having higher pressure, that fluid will never flow back to your feet. It'll always flow towards your core. And a good analogy that I've kind of heard from talking to a few people is think of it like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. The pressure is always going to be high, and you want it squeezing back towards your core. So once you have all those selected and chosen what you want, you can go ahead and put the play button, and it'll take you back to the main screen. And then you can go ahead and press play. And I'll go ahead and do that. Now you guys can probably hear the pump a little bit. It is a relatively quiet pump. I'm gonna zoom my camera out here a little bit so you guys can hopefully see the boots inflating. So as my boots inflate here, they're gonna start with the foot, then it'll fill the calf, the knee, the thigh, and then the whole boot will deflate all at once. Now what I'm feeling here is a super comfortable squeeze on my foot. It's kind of got what I call a 3-chamber on the foot, so it's kind of like a triangle shape on my foot, and then it's going to just smoothly fill into the next chamber. You'll hear it here. It's super quiet. If I hold this by the mic, I've measured the sound of this to be right around 55 decibels, which is not loud at all. You want to make sure that you're laying in a comfortable position. Again, you're trying to move things back to your core, so they recommend sitting on a couch or laying down on the floor. So as it continues to cycle through my recovery routine here, I'll just talk a little bit more about the system itself. So remember, this is a battery-powered device, so the battery life on this is going to be between 6 and 8 hours, and that's going to be dependent on what pressure setting you're using it, how long you're using it for an individual session. I typically use it for 30 minutes at a time. So at 30 minutes, you can expect to get somewhere between 12 to 16 sessions, which is really pretty impressive for a battery-powered device in itself. Now, this package that you get with the RecoveryAir Pro does not include any sort of case. They don't have any case available for purchase right now, so you have to kind of keep everything together on our own, which I think is a little bit of a downside based on the price. The price is $1,299. Now, it does come with a 2-year warranty, so fortunately, if something does go wrong, it'll be taken care of within the first 2 years. Now, something else to mention with that high price tag, because the RecoveryAir Pro is a little bit more expensive, it is the only model that's compatible with their additional attachments, which are going to be a pair of pants, a vest, or an arm sleeve. So if you get the RecoveryAir, you're not going to be able to use all those attachments with it. RecoveryAir is only compatible with the boots and the arm sleeve, so if you're interested in the vest or the pants, you'll need that Pro version. And additionally, when this was RecoveryPump, there were also 3 additional attachments that they had. They had a half jacket, which was kind of like a chest and an arm sleeve. They had a pair of mini boots, which was just kind of from the knee down. And then they had a core, which is kind of your hips. So I don't know if Therabody will end up releasing those as well in the future, but if they do, I would expect that those would only be compatible with the Pro system as well. Now, you guys can probably hear it a little bit. There's the air, it's deflating right now. You can probably hear the noise on this. It is a relatively quiet device, or more than relatively, it's really, really quiet. You can certainly talk over it. I measured the sound of it. It's about 55 decibels. It's not loud at all. It's going to be quieter than your air conditioner. Now, this is an FDA Type 2 medical device, so what that means is that the FDA has cleared this for use in a medical setting, so just a good bonus there to know that it's a really high quality product. And I guess the last thing I'd mention is that the weight of this is 4.2 pounds, so without a case, you're pretty much just relying on the handle of this, but that's pretty much everything in terms of the specifications of the boots and the system itself. With that, I will go ahead and transition to the app now as well, just to show what the app is capable of. The app can do everything that the system can, but just a little bit more refined, a little bit more precision. You've got a couple additional features that'll be really cool to look at. So I'll go ahead and switch over to a screen record of my iPhone right now and just talk a little bit about what I'm capable to do through the app. Now, RecoveryAir does have its own app, so you do need to download that. It's separate from the Therabody app. Once it's open, you'll see you've got RecoveryAir Pro and RecoveryAir at the top. Make sure that the Pro is selected in blue. Your device should appear below that, so you see mine, Best Massage Tech there. Once you select it, you should hear a beep on your system, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this. And then it may ask you to confirm connection. You just have to hit the check mark on your device itself. And it's going to open to the screen of the last session you did. So you'll see mine, I've got the Recover session there. And on this screen, you can control everything like you could on the system itself. It's just a little bit more user-friendly. So you've got the pressure. Again, the pressure, you can pick whatever you want, all the way up to 100, from 20 millimeters to 100. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and select 70. The time, you can go from 10 minutes all the way up to 90 minutes. You also have the option to toggle the stay on, which is just the continuous use. I'm going to go ahead and select, let's go with 15 minutes for this one. Hit OK. Then you've got your different programs or modes. So you've got your recover, warm up, isolation, interval, custom, which you can do any routine you want. And then you can also have your save programs. So if you have any save programs, they'll come up in there. For this one, I'm going to go to recover again. You've got your program settings. So this is your hold time and your release time. You can go anywhere from 0 to 10 on the hold time, and from 10 all the way up to 70 on the release time. Again, that hold time is just how long it's going to hold the air before it releases. The release time is how long it takes to release. So for the release time here, I'm going to put it at 20 seconds, and I'm going to put my hold time at 5 seconds. and then you can hit the back button. Now the next thing is advanced. Now this is really where the benefit of having the app comes into play. If you recall, with the system itself, it only allows you to go in 5 millimeter of mercury increments. Once you get into advanced settings here, so I'm going to go ahead and click it, you actually have the ability to control it down to 1 millimeter of mercury increments by individual chamber. Now the thing to make note of here at the top, you'll see me swiping through. You want to make sure that it's on the boot setting if you have the boots. So that's the first one here. You've got the sleeve option, you've got the pants, and actually interesting here, they actually have the half jacket in here as well, so maybe that's a sign that that's going to be coming in the future, but you just want to make sure you have the right attachment selected. So once you have it on the boot, you'll see below here, if I'm going to go with zone 1, which is near my feet, I can actually slide this and adjust the pressure of that individual chamber here to whatever I want. I also have the option to turn zones off. So if I want to toggle any of these zones, I can turn them on and off individually. Now, if you recall, this has a negative gradient compression. So with that, it's going to automatically adjust. So with the negative gradient compression, again, the most distal chamber is always going to be the highest. You'll see that here. The foot is always going to be highest. So you got 50 and then the rest of them are 49. If I want to make my thigh higher, it's going to automatically adjust the rest of the chambers. So if I try to make zone 4 higher, it automatically adjusts the previous zones to have that negative gradient compression. So it'll never let you have that, just to make sure that that fluid is always flowing in the correct direction. Now with this, if you do turn off any one of the zones, it's also going to turn off any zone more proximal than that. So you don't have the ability to, turn just a middle zone off here. If I want to try to turn zone 3 off, it doesn't give me that option. So with that, I'm going to kind of leave everything here. Let's see if I can kind of adjust it a little bit closer to everything being what it was at originally. If you don't want to manually do that, you can also go back to your program settings. You can hit restore default at the bottom, and it should take everything back to how it was initially installed as. So once you're ready to hit a routine, you just go ahead and press the play button, and you'll see the device will automatically start pumping. You do have the ability to control your pressure while it's pumping. Again, it's only going to allow you the 5 millimeter mercury changes while the pump is actually going. You can open up and adjust your release time and your hold time while it's going there. In order to get back to the main screen, you just hit the pause button at the bottom, and it'll take you back to that main screen. Now, a couple other things to make note of here. So if you recall, in the program settings, you can only change the hold time and release time. That's just for the recover mode. If I want to go to the interval mode, it actually gives me the option to also do the total time and the time off. So if I wanted to do a really long session and then take 25, 30 minutes in between each cycle, it would allow me the option to do that. I'm going to hit restore default here and go back. Now you also have the option to save routines. You saw in the mode here you can do save programs. You'll see here I saved a routine previously called best session ever. Now in order to save a routine, say I found something that I liked here that I loved my session where it was 50 for 20 minutes, and advanced I really loved my zone 3 at a certain pressure. I can go back and I can actually save that routine. On the bottom right I can hit save, name the routine. I'll just say high zone 3 at 20 minutes and hit save. And that'll now be an option when I go to my saved programs there if I wanted to select that option. So the other thing you can do is pull up your saved routines in the bottom left. You can also share routines. So if you're in a professional setting, if you're in a therapy clinic, you can share this with someone else. You can share it with somebody else that might have the same system as you. It'll just be a text there if you go to hit share. You also have the option to rename your device. You see on the main screen here, I've named mine Best Massage Tech. When you first start, yours probably says RecoveryAir PRO. If you want to rename that, you just press and hold it, and it gives you the option to rename it. I'm going to hit cancel. Then the last feature is just in the top left, the 3 little lines. There's a couple different things you can look at here. You can look at your usage history, your RecoveryAir stats. It just tells you when your last session was, your monthly, how many sessions you've done. So you see there, I've done 14 different sessions with it so far. kind of go back here. So I'm not going to dive into all of these little things here, but just know you've got some additional access through the app. But the main thing with the app is the ability to control precision down to 1 millimeter of mercury for those individual chambers in that advanced setting. Really the big benefit of the app here. So that's kind of everything for the app control here. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to just my main screen now and just my main camera, and we'll just recap a little bit and wrap up the review here. So that's basically everything with the RecoveryAir Pro. In terms of things that I really like about this compression boot system, I think it ultimately comes down to the overall amount of control that Therabody gives us on our recovery routine. And that's all elevated with the app and the precision that you're able to get down to 1 millimeter of mercury in those individual zones is something that I haven't seen before. I think the app in general is very well designed. It's very user-friendly. Basically, everything how you would expect it to work is exactly how it's done. I think something a little bit more minuscule is the fact that they have the little blocker plug. If you wanted to go down to one boot, you have the ability to do that. They have that same thing with the RecoveryAir system. In terms of the system itself, it's the fastest cycle time that I've seen of any devices. So in terms of the inflate, the hold, and the deflate time, it's faster than anything else. So when it comes to recovery, you know, the more cycles you can get in, sort of essentially the quicker you can get to that recovery. And then lastly, I really like the negative gradient compression that they have. Again, with the app, you can really go in and customize that down to each individual zone and the chambers in there. So I think those are the things that I like the most. In terms of things that I think they maybe missed the mark on or could really improve on slightly, the first thing for me would be the app in general. The fact that there's a separate RecoveryAir app from the Therabody app. I have so many Therabody apps already. I just wish there was one app for the entire ecosystem. Now, I certainly understand this was a product that they acquired that already had its own app, so I'm sure they are working on integrating those. But just from an overall user experience, just having one go-to app for all Therabody products would be a big improvement in my opinion. I think the next thing is with the boots is their deflate time. I think I've said this in quite a few other videos of mine, but the fact that you have to kind of really wait 20 minutes or so or really force the air out of the boots before you can pack them up is a little bit of a drawback. There are one set of boots that I recently reviewed that have a rapid deflate function. So I wish more boots had that sort of functionality because it is a really nice perk when you're just trying to pack up after your routine and, you know, really put the boots away, or if you're trying to go home from wherever you're using them. It's just a nice little added touch there. I think the next thing for me is the exclusivity with the attachments, and the fact that they are only compatible with the RecoveryAir Pro is just a little bit of a turnoff for me. I wish they would make those compatible with the RecoveryAir system as well. I think they would sell a lot more of those attachments if they were compatible with both systems. But with that being said, I do certainly understand when you have a high price ticket item, you can create some of that exclusivity and sort of justify that price. So that's just one small thing there. But with that being said, I do think the price point itself is still just a little bit high. It obviously is a big investment at $1,299. But with that being said, if anybody is interested in purchasing a RecoveryAir Pro, do please shoot me an email at bestmassagetechnology@gmail.com. I'd be glad to help you purchase one of these systems. I do think another downside with this is that because you are spending so much money, they don't include a case. I think Therabody just really missed the mark on that. If you're going to spend $1,300, this should come with a case, either a carrying pouch, even if it's just a simple backpack or a duffel bag. It is just kind of frustrating to have all these pieces, especially the boots aren't attached, just nowhere to put them all in one nice carrying pouch or something like that. So Therabody, just my little plea here to you, please add a case, or even give us the option to buy a case. If it's $50 for a case, that would be a nice little attachment. But overall, that's my thoughts. If you guys have any questions or think I missed anything, go ahead and drop in the comments down below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you like the compression boot videos, I do have a lot of other videos of different systems that I've taken a look at. I also have a spreadsheet where I've compiled all the different specifications and features of those. I will link that in the description. Just a forewarning, it is $5 to access that because it does take me quite a bit of time to compile all that. That's the simple thing that I can ask for there. So that'll be linked down below. If you like these videos in general, please consider subscribing. I like to always have quick reviews out of new products when they hit the market, and it'll help you decide before you go ahead and buy one of those and make a big investment. But otherwise, that is the RecoveryAir Pro. That's a review.